There's a lot happening in the political world. Should the president fire, or at least try to fire, the second most powerful man in Washington? He's obviously number one. Number two is Jerome Powell. We get into it right now in our weekly chat with Shannon Bream. Ghislane Maxwell meets with the DOJ yesterday. Is the thinking that she might still have info on some of these other Epstein names in his world, maybe get her sentence reduced? Or I'm still trying to figure out why that happened, number one. And speaking of Epstein, if Pam Bondi won't release more info, but the president says he does want the courts to be involved and maybe release more info, can you make it all make sense for us?
Yes, I will try. What's interesting to me is that my colleague, Jonathan Turley, very well-known attorney and law professor, said just a couple of days ago that he had talked to Ghislane Maxwell's legal team, and they said that she had never been interviewed by a federal or state prosecutor, which, given all the legal action that's happened here, that was really hard for me to believe. So it's happening now. They've started day 2 of their conversation with her down in a courthouse in Florida, and maybe they'll learn something new. You know, I had Alan Dershowitz on the show last week. He used to be an attorney for Jeffrey Epstein. He said Ghislane Maxwell knows everything. And he said, you know, she should be given immunity by Congress. They've now subpoenaed her, have her come in and tell what she knows, because she may be interested in getting that sentence reduced. As you said, that may be the whole key for her.
Okay, so shifting now gears slightly, here a couple of guys show up in hard hats at a construction site yesterday in Washington, D.C. Probably the two most powerful men in the country when it comes to our economy. Shannon, why would it be such a big deal for the president to just fire Jerome Powell? And even if he did, is there any guarantee the next person in charge would actually finally start dropping interest rates?
So there is a legal debate over whether he has the power to fire the Fed chair. So it would immediately be caught up. Maybe we'd finally get an answer, because I would imagine that would end up at the Supreme Court. You know, the president's done a lot of firing of, you know, people who are part of these quasi-governmental public-private boards. But about the Fed chair, that question's not been settled. So I think they know that it would be a waste of time. Just let him serve out till May, which seems to be the consensus now with the administration. But there's also a conversation about whether or not they go ahead, the president, and names his successor. Doesn't force him out, but now this person's waiting in the wings. And does it kind of undermine Powell for the next few months, as everybody then is looking to the new person and what they have to say? But listen, days from now, the Fed will make another decision on interest rates. We know what the president wants them to do. We'll see what Jay Powell does.
All right. As a college football fan, I've watched this chaos start to unfold, where one team can lure a player from another team by at least claiming they can pay him more money. Hey, they're paying you $200,000. We can pay you $1 million. Why don't you leave them and come to us? That would never happen in the NFL. In fact, it's not allowed. It's called tampering. So the president signs this executive order last night designed to stop all of this. What is in that order? And the big question is, will it work?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I, too, as a diehard college football fan, I feel like the portal and NIL have kind of just made it. It's not amateur sports anymore. I have got the executive order in my inbox, and I need to read it. I've been a little distracted with some other things. But they're trying to, I don't know if you can put the toothpaste back in the tube with some of these things. And I think people miss the feel of it being an amateur sport, and that you keep your person. And listen, a lot of us will look around and say, if I was 18 and somebody's offering me $1 million to change schools and I'm a star player, it would be really hard not to, especially if you're thinking about your family, yourself, your future. So the executive order is aimed at you know, getting that situation under control. So
I guess, the other part of the question, though, is how is an executive order different than if Congress had passed a law? Will they be able to enforce what the president signed last night to at least start to limit it?
Potentially, based on Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that you can do as an executive order. But remember, you see all these fights that are happening with different institutions right now where the president is, you know, tying funding and taking federal funding away from these different things. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together. But I have talked to members on Capitol Hill, many of them college football fans too, who think there needs to be a legislative fix. You know, we'll see. Okay. There is, I think now that we've had a few years of this experiment, there are, you know, growing voices who think it needs a legislative fix.
Okay, so there is Shannon talking about the big talkers. And so, wow, have these numbers moved around, Syleste? Here's our poll question. Frustrated president wants Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. 38% now. We had no votes on that earlier. 38% say just fire him. Trump is right. Interest rates are way too high. 44% say, look, don't fire him. Let the Fed. I keep wanting to say Fred.
Well, maybe he should hire somebody named Fred, and then it would be a lot easier on us.
Yeah. I think it would be maybe more relatable if the Fed was called Fred.
Oh, okay.
Let's go on over to the Fred office.
How's Freddie doing today?
18% say, look, be patient. Powell's going to be out of a job next year. Firing him could quite possibly hurt the stock market. Let's see. I don't know if we have the YouTube
we do.
poll question. I don't always
Ronnie
have
can
a
bring it up.
button for it.
We got Big D in the studio as well.
But in the
I can tell
booth,
you.
Ronnie, if you want to pull up our YouTube poll question and you have the ability, we could always do that as well. If not, we're just going to go straight to Big D
Yeah, and I can
because
tell
we
you what's
have
going on
lots
there.
of good input. Hello, Dave, and thanks for joining us here.
Hello, friends.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, so on YouTube, we've got more than 330 votes. 34% say just fire him. 56% say don't fire him, let the Fed do its job without political pressure, and 10% say wait, he's out next year, firing him could hurt the stock market. I'll read a couple of the comments. Randy Whitley 996 says the Federal Reserve is a private company. It is not part of the government. Only Congress can remove their ability to print money and return it to the Treasury. And then Brett Goldsmith 8584 says Trump can only fire Powell if he can prove a large amount of corruption. Yesterday, he toured the new Federal Reserve building, stated that the budget was way over target, pulled out paper to prove it. Unfortunately for Trump, the U.S. foremost bean counter pulled out his glasses and quickly determined that Trump had added the cost of a building that had been built 5 years ago to make the budget look inflated. Very rarely does our political maneuvering go so poorly, and so obviously the guy has 7 months left at his job. Just appoint a new guy afterwards.
Wow, that was a
Okay.
very thoughtful
Yeah,
response.
those really are.